Now, in the last episode, I introduced you guys to the latest project, a stunning Phaeton W12 that I picked up off Facebook Marketplace for just £3,500. It had unfortunately spent a good chunk of its life abandoned and was now being advertised as spares and repairs due to a hot start issue. And at the time of me viewing it, it didn't actually have any warning lights on the dash, so it was anyone's guess to what the problem actually was. But anyway, 2 years later and me fitting a pair of new batteries, the problem was still there. This time though, it was accompanied by a battery light. I did read through all of the suggestions that you guys kindly left in the comment section, and the general consensus seems to be a faulty alternator. I agree that this is a possibility as the new batteries clearly weren't charging throughout that video. I thought I'd just check how much a new one is out of interest from Volkswagen, and of course it's over £1,000. But more importantly, you can't even buy one anymore because it's discontinued. So off to the internet I went and had a good old browse, and bingo, I managed to find a company on eBay selling genuine refurbished units for a very reasonable £170. Strictly speaking, the advert was for a 3.2 VR6 Phaeton, aka half of this engine, but after cross-referencing both engine diagrams, it does appear that the part number is shared with the W12. So I went ahead and ordered one as it's worth trying it at this price, and they quoted a delivery time of a couple of days. But then I got a message telling me that the order couldn't be fulfilled because it didn't pass inspection, and now I've got to wait for a replacement part to arrive from Central Europe, of course. So it looks like it's going to be a waiting game for the alternator, folks, because I can't find an alternative listing that offers this service. But either way, there's plenty for us to investigate in the meantime, and that's the plan for today. Getting the Phaeton up on the lift and just seeing what surprises await us. Sure, this amazing machine was once put together by the finest engineers at VW's transparent factory, but it has been 22 years since then, and UK winters are known to ruin even the best of vehicles. So I contacted the guys at Beach's Recovery and got the car moved to the workshop, and crucially the R36 out of there. Definitely give them a call if you need transportation, especially around the Midlands area. Pretty much every project car that I've had over the last 4 years has been moved by them, including this Phaeton from Yeovil. Now, before we begin anything today, I just want to give a massive thanks to all of you who watched the first video. I had no idea it was going to blow up the way it did. As of me filming this right now, I think it's at around 400,000 views, which is insane. But I'm just glad that you guys enjoy seeing content on a car like this, because I genuinely am very passionate about this project. We've also had over 10,000 new subscribers come aboard on the channel, so welcome to all of you. This is a very VW group focused sort of area, you could say. So if you like that sort of thing, make sure you stay tuned. So to kick things off, I thought I'd take you guys on a little tour of the Phaeton's paperwork. Service book aside, there isn't much, but we do have a bit of a surprise hiding there on the right. The invoice amount was £2,927.72, aka £500 short of what I paid for that whole car. And this was on the 5th of March 2014. So this will have been the owner who had the car before it got abandoned. In fact, all of these invoices are from that ownership. I don't think any of them are from any of the previous owners, and there's nothing from the stint at Volkswagen UK. But we'll get straight to it. This invoice is not a general, I don't know, service invoice, you could say. It's actually a bunch of repairs. We'll start at the top anyway. So investigate boot lock and fuel flap operation, repaired boot lock mechanism and replaced fuel flap actuator. Okay, we checked that worked in the last video. It definitely opened. Removed rear bumper for paintwork. Repaired wiring for battery trickle charging system where it had been poorly repaired before. So it looks like we've got some battery situation going on in addition to what we've already dealt with. Repair broken wires in driver's glove box lid. Remove near side front wheel arch and repair wing. Replace front anti-roll bar drop links. Replace suspension level sensor. Faulty lambda sensor. Front brake discs and pads. Rear brake discs and pads. How's the mileage on this? 61,830, so not long ago, to be honest. I know it's been over 10 years, but it hasn't traveled much since then. Near side front wing, bonnet. Near side windscreen pillar, paint and lacquer bonnet, fit up rear bumper, buff and polish new paintwork, fit new middle front parking sensor. So yeah, the parking sensors do work great. Molding, rear bumper, lower spoiler. Yeah, so all of that came to £2,927.72. And breathe in. So what can we learn from all of this? Well, essentially, this Phaeton has clearly been damaged in the past, but not to the extent of being an insurance write-off, as that would have shown up in all of the history checks that I've done. Most of it was contained to the near side, aka the passenger side here in the UK, and judging from what I've seen in the sunlight, the paint match does seem pretty good. There is still some residual scratching on the rear bumper and front lower sill, but it does help explain why maybe the headlight is so much cleaner on this side. The repairs were done by a garage called AM Cars, which upon further research specialise in cars like the UR Quattro, ironically another one of Ferdinand PX doings. So I think it's safe to say a place like that would be passionate about their work, but for peace of mind I figured why don't we just give them a call and see if they can tell us a bit more.
What was the reg again?
OU53
OU53
NTJ.
Oh yeah, we saw it twice
Okay.
for an oil and filter change and air conditioning pump.
Air conditioning pump, because I found one quite big invoice. It was for a lot of near side repairs, essentially body shop work. And
we did repair front wing, paint bonnet, windscreen pillar, front bumper and windscreen pillar. Yeah, none of us are going to know how much damage it was. I don't know if it was accident damage. Honestly, I can't remember.
Okay, no worries. I bought it off Facebook essentially a couple of years ago, but the fella I got it off, he said that it was abandoned for many years.
It was, yeah. Chap died in it, sadly, and it was left here. And in the end, we got so fed up with it, we did get hold of the son, who then instructed us just to dispose of it, so we did.
Oh, so you guys were involved in essentially getting rid of it and the sale as well?
No, we just sold it as scrap.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, we just want rid of it, that was all.
Because at the moment I'm just essentially in the process of tidying it up, so it's just pretty cool to find out a bit more information on it, because the parts are going to be a nightmare to find, which I appreciate. But
yeah, they will be. Yeah, it was quite a thing back in its day. I remember driving it once.
No, that's fine. So there's no photos, but that's basically the stuff.
I've got no photos of it. No, nothing to going back that far.
Cool. I appreciate your help. What's your name again? Sorry.
Rupert.
Rupert. Okay, I appreciate your help, Rupert.
You're welcome.
Take care, mate. Thank you. Bye. So the invoice does add up, but it's pretty cool that we got some more context to the situation. And indeed, the story is correct that the previous owner did pass away, unfortunately, and that's why the car got disposed of or abandoned. But the one thing that definitely caught me by a bit of surprise, as you may have saw during the call, is that if these guys could not fix it or they had to dispose of it because they were fed up, where does that leave me? It's going to be an interesting project. Now, out of curiosity, I figured why don't we have a nose around on Google Street View, as it seems like a good chunk of the Phaeton's abandonment phase was now established to be at AM Cars. The dates don't quite go as far back as 2014, which is when the repairs were done, but if we select July 2016 and zoom in, there's a nice surprise. The good old Phaeton W12 parked next to a rally spec UR Quattro of all things. And judging by the surrounding brickwork, it's probably where this random photo on the internet that I found was taken. Now, going back to the paperwork, the other two invoices were from another garage and they were essentially just part supply. One was for a new battery and the other was pretty much everything else, like the brakes and the oxygen sensor that AM eventually fitted. The total bill was close to £2,000 alone, which means that the whole combined endeavour with the damage repairs basically costed £5,000. But the interesting bit is the cover note on the front. It's actually from the previous owner who passed away, stating his troubles with the car. Let's read his request. So he was saying that there was no automatic boot opening and closing, lambda sensor light that adds up because he got it changed over there, shows ride height, go to workshop. When ride height is selected, the car does rise and fall. My relative's car shows a message that is happening, displays, but I do not get that message. Wow, so his relative had a Phaeton as well. Tyre pressure monitoring switch is off. Have bought 4 new valve caps which measure the pressure. New tyres have been fitted. Okay, so he already tried that and it still doesn't work on the vehicle. Parking sensors not working. Message check lights appear time to time. Headlights seem dim, please check. Parking brake release seems to be sticking. Suspension is air. Ride superb but do hear thumps. Is this of concern? I would like the boot auto open to work. It is heavy manually. I need the parking sensors to work. I'll have to save for tyre valve sensors, £160 each. Wow. If the lambda sensor is expensive to put right and cause no damage, can this wait? Wiper blades. Good to see, no doubt, but it does put into perspective the headaches these cars can potentially bring. But yeah, time for the service book. See, BAN LR70 is a paint code. Look at that, W12, amazing. So as mentioned in the first video, PDI done at 40 miles by Volkswagen UK. Proof of service, so service 1, done 15,000 miles. Air filter, oil change, dust and pollen filter, and tyre pressure sensor battery change. Okay, that's probably something else I need to look into. Seems to be a massive gap of 3 years. 35, that'd be a bit crazy. 20,000 miles that service, maybe that was the interval. Oil change done, inspection service. Aha, spark plugs done at 35,000 miles, air filter change, brake fluid change, dust and pollen filter, ATF change. Okay, so that means it's had a transmission fluid change at 35,917 miles, very good. 2009, 42,000 miles, brake pads front, oil change, inspection, spark plugs again, air filter, brake fluid, dust and pollen filter. I'm very happy to see spark plugs are being changed regularly. This one just says Pro. 7th of May 2013, 60,911 miles, so getting quite close to the current mileage. Wayside, Aylesbury. This was a VW main dealer. Oil change and inspection, and just the pollen filter, so relatively minor service. Aha, AM Quattro's cars. Oil change and brake fluid, 66,000 miles, 13, 10, 14. That's pretty much it. So the car hasn't done many miles since the last service, but it has been, well, it's going to be approaching 11 years. Right, so that's all of the history and detective work out of the way. Hopefully you did enjoy that segment. But next, I figured before we send this thing up in the air, we'd do a full vehicle scan just to see what fault codes have been stored. Now, even scanning a Phaeton is a bit of an event. You really thought it's like any other Volkswagen? Well, you're wrong. To access the OBD port, you probably think, oh, let's head underneath the dash. But all you'll find there is some very nice trim. You need to reach back here. There's a nice handle. And there you go, it deploys. So back here, you've got the fuse panel. And there's the OBD port, nice and straight ahead in front of you. Now, before I click scan, there's another thing I've got to tell you about. We've got 2 ECUs, one controlling each bank of VR6s in a way. So now that we do the scan, we can see what they're doing. Now, for some reason, the car wasn't letting me do a full vehicle scan. I've used this software for years now and I've never had this issue. The car was definitely being recognized. It's just that I could only access the faults if I went through each individual module. And as you can see on a Phaeton, there's quite a few. Auto trans, that's the gearbox. Torque converter clutch, no power being transferred. Supply voltage too low. Transmission range sensor. Let's clear these transmission codes. Engine has no codes on that side. Engine 1, engine 2. Data bus, whatever that is. Let's clear those. No fault codes found. Engine 2, see that's the second ECU. Ooh, okay, here's our first one. Random multiple cylinder misfire detected. Intermittent. Might have happened in the past though. Let's clear that. None found. Battery regul. No response from controller. Engine bat 2. The thing is, folks, I'm going to have to end up clearing each one of these, and that's going to take forever. I think you're going to lose interest in the video if I did that. So, I'm happy there's nothing really engine related. I'm trying to find the one with the alternator. Right, so we've got a bunch of battery codes here. Let's just clear them now. See what happens. No fault code found. Well, it's definitely an issue because that's still on. So there's going to be a bit of deep diving into finding where that is. We'll take another look at this once I fit the new alternator, because at this point I was running out of battery, and that's even despite me fully charging up the starter battery and attaching a NOCO onto the jump points. Now, auxiliary belt is very squeaky. I think that's centered. Now we need to put it into jack mode as well. Right, I think to put it in jack mode, you press these two. There we go. Level fault workshop. So apparently that disables the air suspension. It won't damage it. Well, we'll see. I've never had anything heavier than a R36 on here. Doesn't seem to be going anywhere. Don't really want to put too much weight on this boot, but Think we're okay? Enough dithering, let's go. Nice little touch. The caps are still on there, the ones that cover the wheel bolts. Oh, I gotta show you this. I've got a wasp hiding in there. Poor thing. How did you get in there, mate? I have just let the wasp free outside. There you go. Got 10 mils at the front, and then these look like 8s. Never seen that on a VW before. Each screw that I've just taken out is completely different. All right, under tray off. Those are some pretty thick leaves, or stuck on leaves. They're not even coming off. Got a little snail shell in there. Full ecosystem. Okay, folks, so welcome to the underneath of a Phaeton W12. I never thought I'd be saying those words in my life, but this is how it goes. We're here now. I've gone ahead and taken the under trays off, the wheels are off, so I pretty much got free reign to see what's going on with this 22-year-old, £3,500 magnificent machine. Now, before we go over anything on the chassis, I thought we'd just get straight into the very first object that's right here, and that's the gearbox. It's sort of where you'd expect the engine to finish. You'd think with a 12-cylinder engine, it's going to go a good chunk down the car, but the oil pan for the engine is right there behind my head, a good distance as well. So it all goes back to that W engine packaging, how it's quite compact, and it's a bit reassuring if I have to remove the powertrain, which is something that you have to do on a lot of these old VW Group monsters. I haven't got to stand underneath it and manage the balance and what have you. You can pretty much just be out there up front. But I don't know if you can see from that shot, we do have a massive waterfall coming out of the gearbox. That right there is essentially the sump for the gearbox. And as you can tell, it is completely drenched in oil and a fair bit of mud. That is definitely a big issue that we're going to have to solve relatively quickly, because W12s specifically have a 20,000 mile service interval for gearbox oil. That's all I can find on the Phaeton forums. It is actively leaking as well because it's on the exhaust pipes also. This bracket's drenched. That little drain plug looks relatively wet. There is a gasket in there, so maybe that's seeping out oil. At the moment, I can't tell where exactly it's coming from. We'll just have to pull it all off, change the filter in there. The 5HP24, as I mentioned in the last video, did get discontinued towards the end of W12 production. So finding them is going to be tricky, and I don't fancy putting a replacement box in this whole thing. Moving on to the engine, this is what I mean. There's no leaks around the oil pan. It's been sealed nicely. I wonder if it's ever been taken off, to be fair. I don't actually mind removing it if I have to, but we've surprisingly got 0 engine oil leaks, which I guess is a positive. But look what we've got right there. That is our very in-demand alternator. As mentioned, that is on order, so we're gonna have to change that, along with the auxiliary belt. Is any cracking visible? Hard to tell, really. The water pump is right up there. So you see that pulley with the relatively fresh looking aluminium screws? Behind there's a water pump. So I've got that on order too. These pulleys, yeah, a bit of corrosion on them. Got them on order. It definitely is strange seeing a sideways oil pan on a 12-cylinder engine so close to the front bumper. So yeah, that's the powertrain bombshell out the way. Not too bad in the grand scheme of things, but it's time we address the other elephant in the room, and that's all of this rust. Now the bodywork, as you've seen in the first video, isn't actually too bad. I did spot a bit of rust on the end of the door there, but generally it's pretty good for a completely steel vehicle as far as I'm aware. That's one of the main differentiating factors between this and an A8. But the underside all depends on how it's been treated over the years. This being a UK example, it obviously will have been exposed to winter salts. Obviously this one had a bit of time off for many years. But also in that situation, it depends if it was parked on concrete or grass. If you leave cars on grass for a long time, they get damp underneath and they rot anyway. But we'll just begin with the most noticeable thing to my eyes, and that's this front subframe. I am surprised that it's made out of steel. I thought it'd be aluminium. All my research told me it'd be aluminium. The rear I knew was going to be steel, but we'll get to that in a second. That looks quite bad. So yeah, it doesn't really sit right with me. It's going to have to get dropped or replaced. I just want to poke this subframe with the pry tool, see what comes off, how thin it is. It's still solid under there. It continues back here because the lower part of the strut, the air suspension strut, also is pretty naff looking. This is like the main sort of suspension leg. I mean, it's by no means is that structural rust, but it doesn't look nice. The top bit there is aluminium. So we're gonna have to source something. Maybe even put in an aluminium front subframe. I know you can get one, definitely on a facelift Phaeton. Interestingly though, the driver's side is far worse than the passenger side. Because if we look at that corner, which is the same bit that's rotted out on that side, it's not too bad. You can see the metal gets quite thin on the end there. That's a pretty big difference. So even these brackets right here, that one does have rust on it, but that one is much worse. Thankfully, I have been looking at the diagrams and apparently those are £20 and available, so I can just buy them. Subframes, a bit of a different story. Now, of course, this wouldn't be one of my videos unless I bombarded you with Phaeton trivia. So that's what we're going to do next. We're going to talk about these lovely brakes up front. Some of you may recognize this caliper. It's found on a Lamborghini Gallardo or B7 RS4 that came later, or the 8V RS3. But in 2003, the Phaeton W12 had these calipers along with the V10 TDI, but that's only in Europe because all of the pictures and details I find of US spec Phaeton W12s, they got these very regular looking calipers, which to my eyes, it doesn't work. And to be fair, if you're doing top speed in this, you want a braking kit that big. It's a 2-piece disc, and generally, I think the condition's decent. We have got a lot of surface rust, but this happens when you don't drive a car. It just builds up. But in the center here, you can see it's starting to clear up even with the minimal moving in and out of the unit that I've done. Caliper paint will spruce that up. What color should we go for? Should we stick with black or should we go with silver? And we've got this massive braking duct up front. All looks intact, very solid. Pads don't look too bad, but there are 8 of them, which is very expensive and great. Yeah, it's so orange back here. Well, thankfully the boot on that dry shaft is okay. In terms of the brake line, I was a bit confused at first because I thought that twisty looking roller coaster of a metal pipe was a brake line, but it's not. It's just a regular bracket, I think. That's rusty, but I'm not worried. The actual brake line there in the center is still black, which is reassuring. Around this side, the brakes look pretty much the same. A bit more of the rust has come off the discs. And yeah, generally the pipework is good. In fact, it's still glossy there. But our braking duct is intact, so if this car did have a decently sized knock on this side, that wasn't damaged. So I can only assume all those invoices are visual. Even the jacking point here is roughly the same. A bit of coating has come off there. That little bit there is a bit sketch, but it's literally that section there, and that's quite a solid sill. Now up there, just tucked behind the wheel arch, that little connection, that is very important if you're looking for a Phaeton. That is the power steering line as far as I'm aware, and it does rust out, causing a leak, and then yeah, you're in a bit of trouble. There is actually a guide that the guys on Phaeton Owners UK Facebook group have made to tell you how to fix that. I think you just need to get a bit of pipe work, put some fittings on there. Thankfully mine isn't leaking, but that does look rusty. I have seen Phaetons being advertised as spares and repairs because of power steering issues, and I'm guessing it's because that has rotted out. Okay, so you join me in a different time zone now. I'm on the back half of the Phaeton, which is a fair old walk down there, I'll be honest. Overall, from this angle, it probably looks good because there's a lot of aluminium at play. But again, what impresses me is the originality of this vehicle. All these trims and screws are in place as they were from the factory. A lot of this is rust-free as well, including the exhaust. That's one thing that has surprised me, how little rust there is on the exhaust. Because I do want to keep the original system, even if I, make it a bit louder for content and all of that. Thankfully, the clamp in the middle is pretty much immaculate. So I could unbolt it from the center of the car, take this out, take these out and that as one piece, and maybe just slip on something for a bit of noise, I guess. I do want to spoil something for you folks though. These are just exhaust tips. The actual exhaust outlet is a little slit back there. They are W12 specific though, no other versions have them. The V8 has a square on either side, but rarely see those. The V10 TDI has nothing back there. All of these arms are aluminium. We've also got a diff here with a very impressive looking cooling fin. 0 leaks coming out of that. Obviously this is a true all-wheel drive vehicle. It's not your typical Haldex. I would say nonsense, but I do like Haldex cars. This is the fuel tank. It is a saddle tank, 90 litres. The exhaust runs through the middle. But just like the front, we have a steel subframe, and you know what that brings? It brings rust as well. So let me show you that. Hello, rusty subframe. We meet again, now on a Phaeton instead of a Passat R36. Yeah, if you are new to this channel, go and watch that series. I did the exact job on that car. All of this was crusty on that vehicle. This one has more of a kind of spotted effect though. Look how selective this car is with its rust. The back boxes are solid. At the joins where they normally start to go, I guess there's a bit, but again, it's not too bad. But the coating on the subframes must just be terrible from factory. I don't want to speak too badly of the factory because I love the whole idea behind this car. But it seems even PX Masterpiece doesn't fare too well when it's left alone. Because you got to remember, this car is relatively low mileage. So this is just a case of neglect. And yeah, that isn't great, is it, folks? I think my inner soul is telling me I need to change that. Those drive shafts have gone crusty as well. Whoa. Not nice at all. Got the prop shaft in there, sending power to the back. That's okay, relatively hidden. But yeah, sills are solid. We'll just need to sort out the edges and these little breaks in coating before they get worse. Look at the contrast. Now this here is the fuel filter. It is part shared with the Continental GT, so it's relatively available. I'm still waiting on it to arrive, but it needs a couple extra days. It looks to me like it's still got the original Jubilee clamp on it. I hope it's not the original one. But smooth sailing down this middle section of the body. All the bungs are intact, no clips are broken. In terms of this side, which is the alleged accident side, again, looks relatively straight. We have got the little damage to the pinch welds. I'm never going to be jacking it up on that. That's why you got these dedicated points. It's so easy to find this information or just looking at the car, but people always got to rush things. We'll do our first bit of cleaning here. Got some stick hidden up there. We'll leave that. Another impressive thing, to my eyes anyway, these are the brake lines, very similar to the R36. They go up over the tank and they don't seem to have any rust on them. The connections do, but the actual line is not weakened, so they wouldn't just split on you one day. Obviously the rear brakes aren't as impressive as the fronts, but they're still decently sized. I think they're 335 millimeters, I may be wrong. Air suspension strut, the back. Lots of mud to deal with over here. Bits of surface corrosion. We're not going to know how much until we remove the mud. But these calipers can do the paint. That looks like it's been changed and that's the original bracket. That's typically how it goes. But yeah, generally no sketch activity I think on this side. I think that little knock it had was cosmetic. Underneath here is better than a lot of cars I've had with much higher mileage and newer. So yeah, it's just a big sleeping beast that's had a few little tussles in its time and just needs restoring. All right, I think that's enough fun underneath the Phaeton. Let's have a look at the engine bay. It's like a boat coming into dock just from the sky. That doesn't really make sense. Okay, A380 perhaps. All right then, get you up. Now, as I've already mentioned, I'm still waiting on service parts, so we're not going to be starting any jobs today, but that doesn't stop us having a quick look at what's hidden underneath these trims, because of course this is a luxury car, so they don't expect the owners of Phaeton W12s when they were new to be opening up the bonnet, so that's where they've hidden a lot of things. It is nice that we've got an intake plenum, which is all, you know, functional. It's not a cover. This is actually part of the engine's performance. But I have noticed we have got a few non-genuine screws. Another one back there. That looks OEM. And on this side, we've got 1, 2. At least they've gone symmetrical with the 10 mils. I can respect that. Easy now. Right, it looks like it interlocks and this comes up first. Yes. Nice high quality bit of plastic with a very shiny VW emblem in the center. Left side. Oh, look, I've done a good job. Right side. Wow, these are all intact. Nothing snapped. Exciting. Got the scuttle trim as well, I think. These look like quick release tabs. Yeah, in theory anyway. Oh, it's already loose. All looks intact. Can you keep it intact? Yes, you can. Yeah, most of the internet lore about these having no space to work on anything is pretty much correct. Removing those trims pretty much just exposes the air filters. So you got symmetrical system, one on either side. That's the MAF housing. But in regards to those service items, one of the delays I've had, believe it or not, is those. You'd think that air filters would be, well, you can go around the corner and buy such a thing. But the right-hand side is available next day. But the left side has to come from Germany. And yes, I did try to find non-genuine or say like a good quality aftermarket like Marley, etc. But they all have to come from Germany. In fact, this is a further trim. Well, that's a nice feeling. Yes. Oh, that's very nice. Thank you very much, sir. We've got a zip tie hidden behind that trim. I did see some clips of other W12s and this pipe at the front's just snapping, so I assume that's the fix from the previous workmanship. If it works, it works. I think if this had done more mileage, we would have seen more non-genuine parts in this engine bay simply because of availability, but I think it's almost stuck in time for a good section of its life. I was going to try and look for any leaks around the rocker cover, but you can't see anything unless you take off this intake plenum. But I've just taken the coolant cap off. That colour isn't too bad. Seems pinkish orange. We want to get that bright pink though. So that's going to be flushed out when we do the water pump, which is nestled back there. I thought I'd be able to see more than down below, but we can't even see the belt really. As far as I'm aware, the front end swings out this way and I won't have to disconnect the aircon rad because the AC system is a whole different story on this. You can see a few of the lines running up here, but I believe there's a whole unit hidden back here that deals with everything. There's a few videos out there on the internet that will tell you a bit more about the Phaeton's crazy draftless aircon system. But of course today we're just showing you visuals. Thankfully there's no leaf stuck in there, but we have got, well, a full community of spider webs. I don't think there's any rodent carcasses down there, which is a good sign. The reason I say that is we've got this hole in the bonnet insulation. That was a bit of a concern when I bought this car because I thought, are the electrical issues because of rats when it was abandoned? You never know. It's quite a common thing for them to just bury themselves into electrical cables and ruin everything. Oh look, we've got a live spider right there. Take your time, mate, you're not going anywhere just yet. We do need to address a lot of things like the sunroof drains and the passenger footwell, I believe. So a lot of you Phaeton guys were telling me to check that. So we'll get that done. I do love the fact that they put W12 on either side, depending on, I don't know, if you have one person there and another person there, you're both to know what you're looking at. Right then, so I think that's where we'll end today's episode on the Phaeton W12. I'm glad it's finally in the unit so we can begin on the restoration. I read all of the comments on the first video in regards to what I need to do with the hot start. And I'm thinking first we'll change the alternator because I need to do the belt and the water pump. And of course the alternator does have water running through it. We'll see if that fixes the battery light. If not, then we'll go on a little hunt for some dodgy ground wires around the car. But either way, make sure you are subscribed to the channel if you are new, and also drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. And yeah, all going to plan, you should see the Phaeton again within the next week or so. But if the parts don't turn up, I'll have to show you another project that I've had hiding for a few months. These are all fuel receipts from the previous owner. Maybe we'll add them all up in the next video. Now in total there was around 11 receipts in that armrest. It looked like there was more, but this is all I've got. Still pretty cool, I guess. They're all from 2015 and the total comes to £862 and 2 pence. Yeah, plenty more to come, I'm sure.